Holy cow. Hold your butts. Toxic Love Story on Netflix. Holy cow. I said every time Netflix makes a documentary and we're like, there's no way it could get worse, Netflix is literally like, hold my beer because out of like control. So I actually watched this story before, but it was when it was early and new and it was newer to the news cycle. So of course you don't get all the information. So the documentary really broke down and they actually gave some information that I just I can't believe it. I feel so bad for this girl, but good for her. Just spoiler, she gets through it and she comes out much stronger than ever before. The release date was July 23rd. So it came out last night. And it is a documentary about please listen closely because it's a hot convoluted mess and in the middle of it you think is everyone crazy in this documentary. So Ian Diaz and his new wife Angela had claimed that his ex-fiance Michelle Hadley was cyber stalking them and that she had initially stalked them by creating this email about Lilith. And if you know anything about who Lilith was, that was supposedly Adam's first wife who wouldn't obey. And so, pretty much, I guess they're saying she coined the phrase from just a woman that's not going to be told what to do, controlled, or bossed around, but pretty much just warning them that all hellfire was about to rain down on them. So we end up with the stalking continuing, and the police warning Michelle, you better stop. Leave these people alone. It's over. Move on with your life. And then Ian and Angela were pregnant with twins. So they were pretty excited. His best friend, she just kept going on about how bad he wanted children and that he wanted the family and the whole white picket fence and everything. And the only reason why Michelle would even have a reason to communicate with Ian is because they had bought a condo together that Ian and his new wife Angela were living in together and were in the process of trying to divide marital property is what was going on. So one night Angela is attacked by a man, and when the police get involved, the man says that he was emailed by Angela and she wanted to participate in a grape fantasy. So he is thinking that everyone is on board. And then he's like, why am I getting attacked or arrested? I'm just doing what everybody wanted to do. Well, come to find out, the emails were supposedly from Michelle requesting the fantasy. Crazy. So Michelle ends up getting arrested because I mean that is cyber stalking. That if you do this, you are going to prison. So she's ends up being arrested. So the documentary, I like how they divided it up to kind of keep from things getting convoluted and getting messed or confusing. So then we move to another gentleman who is talking about a woman that he met at a bar, that she was fabulous, she was wonderful. She was in law enforcement like he was law enforcement. So this is just the perfect match. And he fell in love hard and heavy. She was everything he could have ever wanted. They move in together, and then unfortunately, she is diagnosed with cervical cancer and she begins her treatment. She begins to do all the things to try to regain her health. And while she's doing this, she meets some great friends. And she meets one friend who is loyal and who is a ride or die. She even cuts her hair to be in camaraderie with her friend to show that she is there to support her through this difficult time. Well, the boyfriend keeps trying to go to doctor's appointments, and she is like, no, like, you can't come. You gotta work. I can do this by myself. I can take care of this. And then there's one appointment that he put his foot down and he is like, no, I am going. And it ends up falling through. I'm not going to give too much choice because this is brand new. And they end up it ends up triggering like something's not right here. Well, come to find out, she didn't really have cancer, and the woman is Angela, is who the woman is. And the video, when they confront her about it, like show us your port and all the things, and confronting her about the friend noticed she was scratching the back of her neck, and she thought she was pulling her like her hat down to cover that she was bald, but then she realized she just saw like a bunch of like long hair, so she never shaved her head. So they end up confronting her, like I said, and she ends up walking out, and she ends up gaslighting them and just saying that pretty much like, not F off, but like whatever, like I don't need to answer to you, and gives this pitiful excuse of why she did what she did. So now we're fast forward, we're in the present. Poor Michelle is in jail for a crime she didn't commit. But eventually the federal investigators, they realize that Ian and Angela coordinated this whole thing. So we first think that Angela, or they first thought Angela was the culprit behind all of it. And she does end up having to go to prison. And they immediately release Michelle as soon as they find out that she did not do this, which rightfully so, which they should. But I would be pissed if I spent a moment in jail and for a crime that I didn't commit. So Angela ends up having to serve 5 years in prison, and she has not given any interview. She's never discussed. From what they say, she pretty much moved out of California and she wants like nothing to do with anybody. She does not want to be bothered. Ian, who is in law enforcement, was also culpable in this. And he did like when and I liked how the investigator explained it. He went back and looked at videos. So that was the first thing he wanted to look. He wanted to look at cues and look at how they behaved and how they reacted. So he went back and looked at videos from when they were discussing with Ian and Angela the whole Michelle thing. And it almost, if you look at it, and emotions aren't heightened and you're just watching it, you could definitely tell that Ian is coaching Angela. Like, no, remember? And she did this. And no, remember? No, this is what happened. And his constant interjecting of the way that Angela was telling the story about what happened. And then they later go back and they investigate all of the technology, which in the beginning, why wouldn't you do that to begin with? I get it that you're dealing in the moment with an emergent situation that a woman has just been attacked, whether it be fake or real. But who is the one that dropped the ball on checking all of the technology? Because people are scamming nowadays, and the level of and the sophistication that people are scamming, why wouldn't that be the first thing that you would do? It that boggles my mind. So they end up realizing that Ian did use his position as a law enforcement personnel, and he set Michelle up like he did. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. But yeah, Michelle ended up spending 88 days in jail, by the way. I just wanted to like stress that. 88 days in jail for a crime that you did not commit. And how many people spend time in jail for crimes they didn't commit? Don't get me started down that rabbit hole. Let me get back on subject. But when we get into Ian and Michelle's relationship, you realize that Ian can completely do this. And I know this personality type. It is a personality type that I will not be told no. I will not be shut down. Things are on my terms, and it's my way or the highway, or not even the highway. It's my way, or I'm going to ruin your life. I'm going to get back at you for not doing and following my commands. So Michelle talks about the normal boy meets girl love story, googly eyed, everything's perfect at the beginning. He's Prince Charming. He loved Disney, like obsessed with Disney, like it lived and breathed Disney. So they end up going on dates. They end up even going to New York, have a magical time. They show him recording her the whole time. Like, it's like, oh, this man really loves this woman. Well, they get a few months down the road and he wants to move in with her, and she felt safe and she felt ready to move in because this is the man she's going to spend the rest of her life with and start a family. So let's start building our life together. She takes all her savings out, and the plan was for them to purchase this home, which they did. And Ian was going to help her pay the monthly expenses for the home. They finally move in together and his slip starts to show, and he starts being very, I mean, by her description, it was very toxic. It was emotional. It was verbal abuse, a lot of coercion. And he starts texting her about a fantasy of her having relations with another man and him watching. And she, from what I can tell from her and Michelle, and she seemed very sincere in this moment, that she seems to be a very cookie cutter vanilla person, and no shame, no, not to yuck anyone's yum, but that's not her thing. And Ian knew this going into the relationship, and he definitely pressured her and coerced her. And she even said, she's like, I felt like this was something that you do for your man. And I can definitely, in my past, relate to having someone try to pressure you into doing something. And if you don't have that soundboard behind you to be like, no, girl, you don't have to do this. If he doesn't like it, then he can hit the road. I can understand why she was pressured into doing something that she didn't want to do. So she did end up ultimately having sex with the another person like Ian wanted. And she said, if it happen, if or it won't happen again, is what she said. I will do this one time, scratch that itch that you need, but don't ever ask me to do this again. And it just seemed like nothing she could do, and we've all been there, could make him happy. And he began yelling at her if she didn't do something the right way. There was one instance where they were driving in the car and he told her to get out, and she was like so scared she wanted to get out the car, and he slams the door, calls her stupid, takes her engagement ring, because at this point they're engaged, and says, you can't have this back until you like can start doing what I want you to do or what you're supposed to do. It's just horrible. I felt so bad for her, like watching her relive and go through that moment again. It got so bad to the point that she finally broke. Like she snapped and she left the house. And she says that she woke up, or not says, she did. She woke up in another state. And thankfully, she was discovered by a family and not some crazy psycho killer or something. And they ended up taking her to the emergency room. And they said that you had a dissociative episode. You had a PTSD response. She was so triggered and so broken down and so abused by this man that she had just dissociated with reality. That's how bad it was. Now let's rewind. Part of the reason that Michelle was arrested is because when the Lilith emails started, she admitted that she sent them, but this was during when she was having the episode. So she's like, I almost thought I could have sent that email because I was not in my right state of mind at that time. So again, the investigators eventually do close the loop. The head investigator is like, okay, I got I got it, the package wrapped up in a bow. And as crazy as this sounds, Michelle didn't do any of this. Ian and Angela did this. And Angela, from what all accounts, and even from previous things that I've read, has always been a person that is a scammer, or is it what they call it, is she's a manipulator of the truth. So it, I mean, not that it seems like it is, it seems like this was the perfect like firestorm, the perfect two personality types to get together and to cause and wreak havoc, because they did. Because like I said, Michelle spent 88 days in jail. 88 days. And this woman, and then on top of that, the Angela factor that boggles my mind is that you went online to like Craigslist and asked someone to participate in a rape fantasy. What if that person really was a murderer, or somebody that got so aroused during the interaction that it went too far that they like killed you? I just like my mind was just blown when I realized that she intentionally put herself in the line of danger. But anyway, Ian also ends up going to prison. In the end, Ian was arrested and he is actually currently serving 10 years in prison with 3 years supervised release. So after he gets out of prison, thankfully that he'll be under supervision. And we still to this day do not know the actual reason why Ian went to these extremes. Again, I think it was because he is that personality type that no one is going to reject him. No one is going to tell him no, it's his way or the highway. Is honestly what I think is the reason why he did that. And also, I think it's because he was greedy and wanted all of the proceeds. Because while Michelle was in prison, to add insult to injury, he sold the condo and he kept all the proceeds. So she never got her down payment back. So I think that definitely was one of his motivating factors. As for Michelle, Michelle is doing great. She went to therapy, she got the help that she needed. She worked through this and she was able to start working again and be independent. She even began dating again and she actually has a little girl. And I loved her ending. I almost teared up when she said that she did end up living her fairy tale because she was her own superhero, which kudos to her. She survived something that would break so many people, and she came out on the other side stronger and more resilient, and good for her. But like I said, this is the craziest story. Netflix, you all know how to pick them and find them because holy cow. And yeah, and I'll be back with another review later. Bye.